ตลอดจนเพื่อเป็นการปฏิรูป
Thailand is facing its 12th military coup in its 80-year history. After imposing martial law in May, the army has suspended the constitution and ousted Yingluck Shinawat's elected government. Under the new regime, protests are banned, the media is censored, and those accused of dissent will face trial in military courts. With deadly protests over the past decade, those behind the takeover say they had no choice but to step in to avoid civil war. The military says it plans to stay in power for about a year to implement controversial reforms it claims will restore democracy. I'm Steve Chow. On this edition of 101 East, we look at the bitter political divisions that are tearing Thailand apart.
At Victory Monument, a popular Bangkok protest site, soldiers and police are out in force after the coup. Tapani Itrishay, a well-known political journalist, is here on the front lines too, gathering news for Thailand's oldest commercial station, TV3. Known for her robust impartiality, she knows how the military works and has reported on the last two army takeovers.
เรื่องของการรัฐประหารก็ไม่ได้อยู่เหนือความคาดหมาย
This coup was a matter of time and didn't take me by surprise. It was well planned and the first coup in 20 years that took place in daylight. It was impossible for this crisis to be resolved through talks.
Her boss and other news editors were summoned to the barracks after the coup. Now media outlets are reluctant to talk to us. Tapani is uneasy with the restrictions placed on the media, but still wants to speak out. Since the coup, journalists can't criticise the army, interview independent experts, or publish inflammatory content. So she sticks with the bare facts. What are you going to say?
Yes, I'm able to say now the protester at the Victory Monument.
All TV stations were taken off air immediately after the coup, but Tapani kept reporting by making short videos and posting them on Instagram. With more than 280,000 Twitter followers, social media remains a tool she uses to get her message out amid the crackdown.
ค่ะตอนนี้นะคะมารายงานข่าวอยู่กับผู้สื่อข่าว aljazeera นะคะมาติดตามสถานการณ์ยังไม่มีผู้ชุมนุมที่มาคัดค้านการรัฐประหารนะคะแต่ว่ามีเจ้าหน้าที่ตำรวจแล้วก็ทหาร8กองร้อยที่มาควบคุมพื้นที่อยู่ค่ะ
This coup has affected the press the most. In 2006, soldiers were at TV stations, but there weren't as many prohibitions. Many people are giving the army a chance to bring the country back to normal. But can we fully pin our hopes on them? I am not so sure about that, because there are many factors involved.
The players in this conflict draw their support from two very polarised groups. Red-shirt political parties have won polls here since 2001. Building a power base from the nation's poor populous north by giving farmers incentives and low-cost healthcare. They're led by tycoon Thaksin Shinawat, a former Prime Minister who was deposed 8 years ago and now lives in self-exile to avoid corruption charges. His sister Yingluck was the last democratically elected Prime Minister in 2011. Opposing the family are Bangkok's wealthy urban elite, who hold the military, bureaucratic and legal power, but struggle at the ballot box. They're backed by a pro-royalist yellow shirt movement. There are rising fears over a future without Thailand's revered king, who has been in hospital for the past few years. Discussing royal intrigues and the monarchy's impact on Thai politics is illegal, making it hard for pundits to speak openly about the situation.
The Thai political crisis has different layers. I believe most Thai people know what the real problem is. For a long time it's been unresolved. Though a lot of Thais are not in favour of the coup, Many think of it as an answer. It's acceptable here to deal with political problems that way.
Since the takeover, the army has deployed thousands of soldiers across Bangkok to stop anti-coup protests. Under their watchful eyes, Bangkok's business district, or CBD, quickly loses its bustle. Any gathering of more than 5 protesters can be met with the military's might.
The army haven't just taken control of the streets. 3 of the main SkyTrain stations going into Bangkok CBD have also been shut.
Those against the coup are getting creative, starting flash mob rallies and sharing information on army checkpoints using social media. One tweet tells protesters to come to this popular mall. We find a media circus and 10 protesters trying to storm the shopping precinct.
It's absolute bedlam. People are yelling, some people are against it, and are yelling angrily towards them. That's all that you can gather from this big scrum that's been going around the mall.
Authorities are dealing with a game of cat and mouse across a megacity. The main difficulty is working out who the protesters are from the public. It's only clear when demonstrators put out banners or salute with 3 fingers, a gesture of defiance taken from the popular Hunger Games films.
Is this about creating anarchy? What are you trying to do?
We try to get answers from those defying the junta, but they fear arrest and just say the people's voices need to be heard.
Now the police have taken control of the mall, they've cleared it out, and this guy over here has said that he wants all the media to leave because they're encouraging these pop-up protests.
Later that afternoon, outside Bangkok's Art Centre, troops respond to another flash mob protest. They issue 3 warnings, but are met with this response. More troops are mobilised, then the soldiers act on their threats, storming the city's main pedestrian overpasses and shutting them down.
There's a very small number of protesters, but the army are making it very clear that they want their presence felt. They're pushing people back, and there's not much you can do except take it. Where are we going? This way? This way. All right. We're going that way.
Away from the military's glare, one anti-coup protester is willing to talk. Born into a rice farming family in northern Thailand, Satit Tipachot moved to Bangkok for work. She finds out about protests through Facebook or word of mouth. Satit says it's not just red shirts protesting against the coup, but people who want soldiers off the streets.
I think protests help a lot, because the world knows there is a group of us who aren't from high society, that aren't highly educated, who aren't satisfied with this coup in Thailand. I just want everyone to know.
Satit is a D4C who makes a living washing clothes in her housing block. She says she's only voted for a red shirt party once, and that her participation in rallies is based on principle, not politics.
Are you asking me if I had confidence in Yingluck's government? I saw the news about her dishonesty, and I believed it. But I want the government to be able to work for the full 4-year term for the peace of the country. That's what I want. For them to think about rights, because us poor people aren't as stupid as they think.
Many of Thailand's elite disagree with such views. Painter Chalit Nakpawan believes democracy was failing the nation. He thinks most voters are poorly educated and easily manipulated by politicians. Chalit was one of thousands from Bangkok's upper classes to join mass protests against then Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra.
We all have to admit Thailand wouldn't be a real democracy by just going forward towards elections. We need to fix things like vote buying. Otherwise, the people will endure the evil cycle of corruption.
Since November, anti-government protesters have blockaded Bangkok. At least 28 people were killed in fiery clashes with police and opposing political groups. The demonstrators were angry that Yingluck wanted to introduce an amnesty bill that would have exonerated her brother Thaksin and allowed him to return home. If the bill had been passed, pardons would also have been granted to political leaders in charge when violence shook Thailand in 2010, leaving more than 90 people dead in street battles with the military.
I don't believe Yingluck was a puppet at all. From what she did, it showed she too was willing to participate in these crimes. The amnesty bill was so unacceptable. How could she try to let those who committed crime free? This is not the way it should be.
Chalit supported the Constitutional Court's move to dismiss Yingluck as Prime Minister. It was for a different controversy, promoting a relative to a top bureaucratic post.
She was forced to leave her position of Prime Minister from the just legal system. This is the way it should be and how it should be. This is what we believe in.
Yingluck's party hung on to power with a caretaker Prime Minister, but the army soon stepped in. They declared martial law and gathered the warring factions for peace talks, but the deadlock continued. 2 days later, the army's powerful chief, General Prayuth Chan-o-cha, declared a coup.
You need to understand the history of the Thai country. People trust the army. Over the past 6 months of the street protests, we had let other organizations to deal with the situation. We had let every system run in order to deal with the situation, but it didn't work at all.
Colonel Verachon is the public face of Thailand's new governing body, the National Council for Peace and Order. The international community has slammed their takeover as undemocratic, but the army claimed Thailand could have ended up like Syria or Iraq without intervention.
The gesture made by the country, big or small, whatever, has created some negative public mood in Thailand. I urge those government of those countries, our ally, to reconsider their gestures again, to look into the situation on the ground. We just want them to understand our intention, and we try our best to explain.
After the coup, hundreds of political leaders and members of civil society were detained for days across Thailand.
The way that we summon people, we do it politely, and even though we detain them in the military compound, the way we treat them, of course, we respect human rights. We provide them a good accommodation, we provide them good food. We only ask them to come to talk, to express their idea, and to stay away from all of that, the tension or influence. For example, some people who have involved with the conflict directly, they might have been influenced by people somewhere. We want them to be themselves. We want them to be on their own, and to think over the situation, about their action in the past, what they have done, what they should not done, what they should stop.
Known for its picturesque mountains and valleys, Chiang Mai in Thailand's northwest is the home of the Shinawatra clan. Now under heavy guard, the military here shuffle governors and police loyal to them. We've come here to see whether the coup will only reignite dissent amongst the red shirts.
สถานการณ์2เวลานี้ก็ไม่ทำให้
The situation now doesn't make anything better. The divisions, the love for harmony, the misunderstandings between us have not disappeared. It is stronger.
Siwan Jungpong is one of a dozen red shirt leaders summoned by the military. The well-known restaurateur went voluntarily to the barracks.
คือตอนแรกที่เข้าใจ
I thought we'd be released quickly, but that wasn't the case. They said, for the sake of the nation, you have to stay with us for a while, okay? They detained us for 6 days. I didn't feel good about it. What made it uncomfortable was we couldn't contact family, friends, or anyone. They confiscated our phones and had military officers watching 24 hours a day, constantly watching us.
To be released, Siwang had to sign a memorandum of understanding that places a number of restrictions on him.
The main points are: you can't be involved with mobilizing any political movements. You will not provide news to the public that will affect order. If you want to leave Chiang Mai, you have to report to the military. This limits our freedom of speech. In terms of expressing our views, this will be shown in Qatar and the world. What repercussions will it have on me? I don't know.
Do you think you're being watched? Do you think your phone is being monitored?
Sure, I'm being watched. They make us report in every now and then. 3 days after I got out of the military camp, they called me in again for another discussion. They'll probably continue to call me in to talk in the future.
Suthep Sudhikun is praying for peace in this period of political turmoil. The 77-year-old abbot is a long-term supporter of the Red Shirt movement and has provided spiritual guidance to Thaksin Shinawatra. He says the crackdown has only stirred up anger here.
It's natural to feel that way. People have lived in relative comfort and peace without anything suffocating us, without boundaries. And now there are boundaries to stop us, leaving us only a little bit of space. I have to be careful what I say, because there are many people who are watching me.
Suthep says the crackdown is the biggest challenge the Red Shirts have ever faced, but claims they will rise again.
Right now the Red Shirts are in hiding, but they have the power to come out together again if they get the word from the top brass. But if there are no orders, they won't come out.
Across this region, there's undying support from Red Shirts like Anong Jaishwai. She runs a micro-lending centre, one of many local initiatives funded by the political movement to help the poor. The centre is part of a Red Shirt village, where locals are taught their legal rights and how to earn a living, something out of reach before.
Why do we need to mobilise like this? It's been instilled in us that we must use our rights to vote for any person we believe will look after our interests without cheating us. It's our right to choose them. When the army says we can't do it anymore, they're oppressing us. They close our eyes and ears. What the military is doing is not right.
Many Red Shirt villages have been forced to take down signs that support the movement. They're banned from wearing Red Shirt clothing or meeting together.
They can order us to stop, but they can't stop what's inside our hearts. This is a profound fight for us. It's deep-rooted. We're different from those in Bangkok, and what hurts us most is how they patronise us. They live happily using our tax money. We are the people making money for them. In turn, they patronise and discriminate against us. Our right to one person, one vote has no weight. Let me ask those elites in Bangkok, are you equal to us?
Back in the capital, the challenge for the army isn't just running a politically divided nation. 6 months of instability has put Southeast Asia's second-largest economy at risk of sliding into recession. Monterey has shown tourists the majesty of this metropolis for 11 years on the iconic long-tail boats.
Usually, at the very least, we get 4 to 5 trips. Since the instability, we can barely get one. We've been suffering.
Some of Bangkok's famous luxury hotels lie along this river. But with a 20% drop in visitor numbers since the coup, everyone is feeling the strain, especially because of nighttime curfews.
I'm afraid. I've always done this kind of work and not others. I don't want to leave this profession. Is there any other work out there if I go look for it? It would be difficult. Even people with degrees struggle for work.
The political turmoil is also hitting Thailand's vital construction and manufacturing sectors. Investors are holding back on spending. Government expenditure has stalled, and consumer sentiment is at a 12-year low. I'm off to meet Anusorn Tamjai, who works at Rangsit University as the Dean of Economics.
Thanks very much for making the time to talk to us.
He also sits on the Bank of Thailand's board and is worried about the long-term implications of the coup.
Some observers say authoritarian regimes have the ability to make quick economic decisions because there's no need to seek parliamentary approval. Such claims are untrue because unelected governments can be lobbied by those with military connections. Free trade agreements and investment projects can only be moved ahead by elected governments.
When the army last took over in 2006, their appointed rulers backflipped on economic policies and were unpopular with investors. If the junta can't maintain stability during their reign, Anusorn warns Thailand could experience a lost decade, losing out to more financially stable neighbours.
A lost decade occurred in the Philippines under Marcos. It also happened during the Cambodian Civil War and under the Burmese junta. I hope we don't face the same fate as them, but if the army hang on to power for too long or fail to restore stability, capital will flow out and the baht will weaken. Real stability only takes place in true democracy. Authoritarianism conceals frustration that can explode one day.
The army has pledged to return happiness to the Thai people and is staging concerts and street parties. They have ruled out elections for at least a year to give them time to implement reforms.
6 months ago, during the street protests in Thailand, people been very, very tense. People not talking politics to one another. People feel suspicious to one another. Are you thinking the same way with me? Or can I share my view with you? Can I sincerely, can I openly talking to you? The society were that way. The objective of having the campaign restore the peace to the nation or to the people is to bring people away from the political issue, political concern. Provide them the atmosphere that they can be happy, they can smile to each other without any worry about political preference.
For now, the land of smiles is more divided than ever. In a nation of 67 million people, the red shirts can win at the ballot box, but the army and their backers have the power. It's an intractable situation, a crackdown where those in fear can only speak in metaphors.
People here don't smile anymore. This situation bothers them. We're strong, but restless. I accept a coup will partially keep the peace, but Thailand today is like a pot of boiling water. If you just put a lid on it without lowering the temperature first, it will burn the pot to a crisp or boil over.